Are you meeting your readers' expectations? I'm Karin with Right Now Editing, where we turn good manuscripts into great books.
And I'm Peg Thomas, multi-award winning author and editor, and we are two editors for 5 minutes.
And today we're going to start the timer and we're going to talk about meeting reader expectations or satisfying reader needs.
Yes.
Um, One of the things that we had been talking about was, a book's takeaway. Now, there's a difference in takeaways if you're writing nonfiction and fiction. Oftentimes in nonfiction, you are promising something where I'm going to teach you how to lose weight or be more organized. It's a very specific
Yeah.
topic. Fiction, it's a little broader there. But every manuscript or every book needs to have some sort of takeaway. It needs to meet some type of reader expectations. Peg, how can
Because
authors make sure they're doing that?
if you get to the end of the book and your thought is, well, there's 5 hours of my life I'll never get back, the author failed big time, right? So there has to be a takeaway. There has to be something that the reader takes away with them that makes them go, yes, I'm so glad I read that book, right? Um, for example, a book should it could comfort them, right? If it's just a fluffy feel good book that gives them the comfort of, sitting in front of
Hot
a,
cocoa on a cold day.
yeah, think all Hallmarky, right?
Yeah.
That's a comfort one. It may challenge them. Maybe it makes them think about a certain class of people differently than they thought of them before. Maybe it's a book about the coal miners, and they never really thought about everything that those people went through. So that would be a challenge. Maybe it inspires them. Maybe your characters are doing something that they can relate to in such a way that it inspires them in their own lives. Or maybe it validates them in some way. Just what your characters are going through, what they're experiencing, um, everything this is something they can relate to so much that it validates them in their own life. These are the kind of things that makes your book rereadable. And I absolutely love it when I have somebody contact me and say, I just reread this book that you wrote 3 years ago or something. I'm like, yes, nothing will excite an author more than that.
And this is something I try to talk with readers or with authors about regularly. Um, they don't ever want to talk about it because they think they've got it all figured out. But in my experience, and having spoken with publishers and agents, um, the number one reason you are not meeting reader expectations is because you don't understand genre. Now,
Mm.
we have done a whole series on genres,
Yes.
and actually, there's a whole playlist. You can click on those to find out what the genre expectations are. Because that's essentially what genre is. It is a promise. Now, when you pick up one of my books and I tell you it's hopeful fiction with a healthy dose of romance, if nobody falls in love in that book, your expectations will not be met because I told you there will be a healthy dose of romance. And because I market my books as contemporary romance books, there's going to be a happily ever after.
And
So
my books, on the other hand, are historical. And my books are unflinchingly, authentically historical.
she's gonna kill people with plagues and wars and all kinds of horrible things.
It's real,
They're
and
terrible. I mean, they're good, but when you're a comfort reader like me, they're terrible.
my books are going to give you what history was, not what we wish history would have been. They're going to be very realistic. And my readers know that, and they like that. And that's my tribe. We talked about tribe a little while ago. And that's the kind of person that's going to come in and pick up my book because it's going to deliver that for them.
And that's
And one thing I wanted to
yeah.
mention, I said the different things the books can do, and you mentioned romance. Romance has to have a happily ever after, but books don't have to have a happily ever after to be satisfying. I mean,
No.
I one book that stayed with me and I will never ever forget was Where the Red Fern Grows. And if you've never read it, you should. It's about a boy and his dogs, and I've still blubbered through the ending. probably read it 5 times. If I were to read it again, I'll still blubber through the ending. But the lessons and the pictures in there is just poetically beautiful.
And there is something that is satisfying when you read a book, and if the main character has terminal cancer, you are expecting that that character is going to die at the end of the book. And if it ends before that, you're kind of left hanging. Is it a sad and tragic ending? Yes. But you know that it's coming. I can think of off the top of my head a couple of different books where the main characters die at the end. Do I like death in books? No. But I tell you what, those were fantastic books because that was
Yes.
the expectation and the way that the authors wrapped everything up satisfied what I was expecting to read in the book. Now, Peg,
Because
we're
they
out
were
of time.
beautiful,
You got a
beautiful
last,
endings.
yes,
But okay, last
last
thing,
thing.
takeaway. The takeaway in the book you need to keep in mind as you're writing your book that needs to be threaded throughout the story. You can't just drop a takeaway at the end. It needs to be a theme that is threaded through your story because if it's not, the reader will never make it to the end and they won't know what it was.
Got it? Okay. Come back next week. We'll have something else fun to talk about, I'm sure. Until then, I'm Karen Beery.
And I'm Peg Thomas. See you next time.
Bye.